Did I understand you to say that the reconciliation bill is the most extraordinary legislation you've ever seen? Did I hear that correctly?
There may have been some lost in translation
I
there.
understand. I was a little late. Tell me what tell me what the bond market's telling you. Well, obviously the size of the tariffs makes a difference, does it not?
It does.
And we don't know yet the
We don't.
size of the tariffs.
We don't. And we don't have a view on any of the merits at all. That's not our job. Our job is inflation, as you know, and maximum employment.
Will it also matter? Let's assume that there is upward price pressure. Would it matter how much businesses decide to pass on versus just eat?
Patriots, it's time we sit down and talk about something the left-wing media will never cover honestly. Senator John Kennedy, the pride of Louisiana and one of the last honest voices in that swamp they call Washington, D.C., just dropped some truth bombs that shook the foundation of the phony economic narrative being peddled by the Biden administration and its bureaucratic puppets. Now listen, folks, when Kennedy speaks, you don't get political theater. You get common sense. You get clarity. You get the voice of the American people. And in this exchange, once again, he put the so-called experts on the hot seat and made them squirm. And rightfully so. Let me break this down for you, because this is more than just a hearing. This is a reality check for America.
Keep us at 5 minutes. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, did I understand you to say that the reconciliation bill is the most extraordinary legislation you've ever seen? Did I hear that correctly?
There may have been some lost in translation
I
there.
understand. I was a little late. Tell me what tell me what the bond market's telling you.
Bond market's fine now, functioning well. It's pricing, it's reacting to economic news. There's adequate liquidity. Rates have come down pretty significantly from where they were a couple months ago. So I think I think inflation expectations have come down a bit from April, and in general, the bond market is functioning well.
Okay. Explain to me why we have seen in the last few months weakness in the dollar.
That's a great question. And of course, the Treasury Department is responsible for the role of the dollar. So I don't know. I think I would go back to the thought that markets have been digesting an unusually challenging set of circumstances, and have reacted the way they've reacted. The dollar's kind of stabilized now. In fact, it's moved back up here in the last couple of weeks a bit. And there are plenty of people who are still writing that the dollar is still overvalued. We don't have a view on that, of course, but I wouldn't really have an opinion on exactly why it is where it is.
Well, clearly there's a lot of geopolitical risk right now, which would lead one to conclude, all things being equal, that people would be flocking to the dollar and it would be stronger.
Well, you have seen some of that here in the last few days, but again, I don't really have an official view I'd like to share on that. I think there are possible explanations, multiple possible explanations. Again, one of which is that some people still feel the dollar is highly valued.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I want to talk for a few minutes about tariffs and inflation. What does history tell us about tariffs and its impact on inflation or deflation?
So the thing is, we've been through a long period in which tariffs were going down. Remember, since World War II, really, it's been a process of lowering tariffs globally. So there just isn't a lot of modern learning on that. I think people look at the incidence of tariffs during the president's first term, but those were like 1/6 the size of what's people are estimating now. And they do find some effects on inflation. But remember, in 2019, when those tariffs were put into place, the economy was slowing. We actually cut rates 3 times. Inflation was running at 1.5%. So it was a very different time. This is different. I think one of the reasons why it's so challenging is that there really isn't a modern precedent. And I think we have to be humble about our estimates. And we are very open to the possibility that transmission through into inflation will be less than we think, or maybe more than we think, which is why we're in a position of wanting to take our time and make a smart decision as we see how this unfolds.
Well, obviously, the size of the tariffs makes a difference, does it not?
It does.
And we don't know yet the
We don't.
size of the tariffs.
We don't. And we don't have a view on any of the merits at all. That's not our job. Our job is inflation, as you know, and maximum employment.
Will it also matter? Let's assume that there is upward price pressure. Would it matter how much businesses decide to pass on versus just eat? Does that make sense?
Yes, that matters. That is what matters. The question is who's going to pay for the tariffs. Originally, it's the importer, but it gets passed along through the distribution chain to some extent to the consumer. The ultimate question of it is how much of it does show up in inflation. And honestly, it's very hard to predict that in advance. So we're watching to see, what shows up in measured inflation.
If the president's trade negotiators pursue reciprocity, which I define as both sides reducing, in a quid pro quo, reducing tariffs and trade barriers as much as possible. Ideally, in a perfect world, we would end up with two sides with zero tariffs and zero trade barriers. Would that be inflationary?
No, not at all.
That would cause the economy to roar, wouldn't it?
I think it would be.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your endorsement, Mr. Chairman, of the reconciliation bill.
First off, did you hear that? Senator Kennedy asks, straight-faced, did I hear you correctly that this reconciliation bill is the most extraordinary legislation you've ever seen? And what does he get in return? A weak, watered-down walkback. The truth is, this reconciliation bill is a bloated, inflation-fueling, pork-stuffed disaster. They're calling it extraordinary. All right, extraordinary in how quickly it burns through your taxpayer dollars. Then Kennedy drills down. Tell me what the bond market's telling you. And the bureaucrat gives us a carefully polished nothing burger. It's functioning well. Sure. As if rising interest rates, shrinking liquidity, and economic stagnation are just business as usual. They want us to believe everything's just fine while American families are drowning in debt, our savings are shrinking, and the American dream is on life support. And then comes the knockout punch. Senator Kennedy brings up the elephant in the room. The dollar's been weak. Why? Now let me tell you something, patriots. When the dollar's weak, America is weak. And that should scare every freedom-loving citizen in this country. Kennedy doesn't let them off the hook. He says what we're all thinking. In times of global unrest, the dollar should be getting stronger, not slipping. But the chairman shrugs his shoulders, gives us vague economic mumbo-jumbo, and dodges the question like a seasoned swamp creature. Then comes the real gut punch, tariffs and inflation. Now you want to talk about leadership? Kennedy dives into a topic that makes the left and the globalist elite sweat, tariffs. He asks plainly, what's the effect of tariffs on inflation? And what do we hear? Nothing but bureaucratic hand-wringing. We don't really have modern precedent. We have to be humble in our estimates. Give me a break. We're being led by a bunch of so-called experts who admit they don't know how any of this works anymore. While Americans are paying more for groceries, gas, and goods, these people are sitting on their hands, waiting to see how it unfolds. It's not unfolding, it's unraveling. Kennedy asks another crucial question. If tariffs go up, will businesses pass the cost on to the consumer, or will they eat the loss? And the chairman admits, yes, it matters. It matters a lot. So let's get this straight. Biden wants to flirt with massive tariffs, global trade wars, and currency instability, but we're supposed to just wait and see. No strategy, no accountability, no direction. That's what happens when career politicians and unelected bureaucrats are more concerned with political optics than economic reality. And then, this is where Kennedy nails it. He talks about reciprocity. You reduce tariffs, I reduce tariffs. Zero tariffs. Zero barriers. Free and fair trade. That's exactly the America First strategy we've been calling for since day one. Kennedy says it right. That wouldn't be inflationary. That would make this economy roar. And you know what, folks? He's 100% right. You give the American worker a level playing field, and we'll outwork, outbuild, and outperform any nation on earth. But the Biden regime doesn't want that. They want dependency. They want control. They want a weakened dollar, a bloated government, and a disoriented, distracted public. Senator Kennedy is doing what more Republicans need to start doing: grilling these bureaucrats, questioning the narrative, and defending the working men and women of this country. He's not there to play nice. He's not there to kiss rings. He's there to hold the line. While the left pushes socialist spending schemes, weaponized taxes, and foreign appeasement, Kennedy is standing firm, asking the right questions, and calling out the failures in real time. And don't miss the irony at the end. Kennedy thanks the chairman for endorsing the reconciliation bill. With that signature dry wit, he calls out the hypocrisy with a smile. That's how you lead, folks. That's how you fight the swamp without sinking into it. America needs more John Kennedys and fewer Biden yes-men. We're not going to sit back and watch our country go broke and our freedoms disappear. So if you're tired of the lies, if you're tired of the excuses, if you're ready to fight back, then subscribe to Right View Nation, hit that like button, and share this video with every red-blooded American who knows we deserve better than this economic clown show. Stand up, speak out, stay unapologetic. This is Right View Nation, and we're just getting started.